All right. So here we are with the DSoG vlog. Hopefully this is the first one that the world will hear and see. So I am Brooks. My in-game name is Camel Hunt, if we want to say that. And I'm joined here by my two friends. You guys can say your names if you want.
My name is...
Whoever wishes to go first.
My name is Carlitos. My in-game name is Chains and Whips.
It's an Evelyn, right? It's about Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Thresh.
Oh, okay.
That's true. That's true.
And then I'm Ken, and my name is Beckrash.
We're all horrible at the game. So don't look us up.
Do we want to say
PGG,
where we were last season, season 7?
Well, let's talk about season 8, and maybe we can also discuss.
Okay.
So the first topic we were going to talk about today was that today is the first day of season 8, a new season in League of Legends. So the big question is, what do you hope to accomplish this season? Have you played any games yet? And kind of beyond the question of what rank do you hope to achieve, but maybe some bigger picture questions. How do you hope to improve as a player and stuff like that? So I'll throw that one to you guys.
Ken, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. What am I looking for from season 8? Well, kind of going off of season 7, I made it to Platinum 3 as the head of my height of my climb, which I did playing exclusively jungle. I did not win hardly any games outside of the jungle. I'm way too specialized, and that is my biggest goal for season 8 is to diversify. I think that's one of the big things that's holding me back is my inability to play any other role. It's pretty clear to see, you made Platinum. What's the next step? I'm just going to go up to Diamond. That's my rank goal. But overall, my goal is to be more diverse in my play.
All right, Carl?
For me, I finished the season at Silver 5, just like I did the previous season. And so this year, I would like to at least hit gold and get that victorious skin, no matter what it is. I really didn't stick to any single one role, and I feel like that hurt me a little bit in my climb because I would go from ADC to jungle to support to throwing in some Orianna mid and then play more jungle and then switch back to ADC. So I kind of want to just stick to at least one main role and then have support or jungle, or probably support since I want ADC to be my main role. Just stick to ADC mainly for the season and just try and get good on 3 or 4 champions, notably Jinx, Caitlyn, Tristana, Ezreal. So, and like I said, hit gold, get that victorious skin. So.
Yeah, dude, you just gotta get good, dude. Get good.
Just gotta get good. All right.
Let's see. For myself, the peak of my climb was gold 3, but I think I ended the season at gold 4. My goals for this season, last year I kind of tilted off the face of the earth around May, and I didn't play until late August. And I think that if I would have kept playing and didn't, tilt super hard, I probably could have climbed a lot higher than gold 3. But that happened last year, so the goal for this year is to not tilt like a crazy person, and actually hopefully reach platinum and higher if that's even possible. I also I'm a support main because I hate myself, and I hope that everyone else in the game will carry me. But one champ that I have never really been good at was Thresh, and I practiced a lot of Thresh in the preseason. So I hope to be able to bring Thresh into Season 8 and have, at least above a 50% win rate, at least look look decent at the champ. That is, kind of should be in every good support's wheelhouse. So that's kind of my big goal for this season. All right, so to continue with this question and taking it to the pro scene, what do you hope to see out of Professional League of Legends in Season 8? So who do you hope will win? Whatever league we want to talk about, or all leagues, who do you hope will win? Do you hope to see some of these new franchise teams really show up big? Do you hope that the old guard, CLG, TSM, C9, Team Liquid, all still remain at the top? Well, not really Team Liquid because they weren't very good last year. But do you hope to see Riot make any changes to formatting for Worlds, formatting for LCS, or anything like that? So, you guys take this one. How about you go ahead with this one, Ken?
Well, obviously, I really like the new teams coming in because I think they're going to bring in a fresh take on how esports can be approached. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Optic because that's my favorite of the new teams. They have an incredible media coverage of their own team. You can go to their website and they have all these videos on what's going on with the team, and that kind of constant interaction, I guess. I don't know, that constant ability to look through that lens of what your team's doing is something that a lot of people on the internet, especially people who play video games, want. They want to see how the pros do it. That's why streaming is so popular. I mean, you can go on at night.
So here's a question. So you appreciate that Optic is putting out content, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah. So do you think that the content that Optic is putting out differs from, say, TSM Legends or the stuff that C9 puts out, the stuff that Immortals was putting out? Do you think what Optic is doing is different, better? Yeah. Do you think it's kind of the same? What exactly are they putting out? Because I haven't seen it.
It's kind of the same as Legends, but it's a lot more of it, and it's not just focused around League. They have all of the other esports that they have, and the owner is pretty accessible on those things. When I say accessible, I mean he's around, he gets recorded. People, you get to hear what he has to say. Kind of like what Immortals was doing with Noah's Notes, but it's not once in a blue moon that these videos come out. It's every week. Some of them I think might be every day. But I think that having that is an element that is going to make them gain fans, and that's what I want to see from the LCS, is gain more fans. I mean, they've been consistently gaining more fans over the past 3 years. A lot of people like to point out that, nobody's going to watch the LCS if NA doesn't do well at Worlds. Well, for the past 3 years, we've done horrible at Worlds, and we've gotten more and more viewers every year. So I want to see that happen again. I would like to see us do well.
I think Optic is an interesting example that you give because they do come from the gaming background.
Yeah.
They're one of the oldest gaming organizations, at least in North America.
Yeah.
So I think if we can hope that some of the NBA organizations do the same kind of thing, because I would assume that Optic has been doing this with their Call of Duty and CS:GO teams for a while. So I can hope that some of the newer orgs that are not endemic to video games or to esports would do the same thing and would produce content that you like to consume.
Yeah.
Carl, you want to take this question?
Yeah. I want to bring this to Worlds. I would like to see a change in the format to include double elimination for the bracket stage. I just think, I think for one of the most hyped events in the season, it needs more, just losing one round in the finals or in the playoffs shouldn't get you out of it because you could have just had one bad series. I feel like making it into a double round robin, like best of 3 or best of 5, makes it so that way the best team possible wins. Does that make sense? And I also want to see that happen for like NA LCS playoffs and EU LCS playoffs, just because like yes, it takes longer time to do, but with the regular season becoming best of 1 games, I feel like there needs to be more best of 3, best of 5 games somehow in the season, and doing double round robin or double elimination would do that for you in the playoffs. So
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, I think that's a fine idea. I think it'd be good to test it out.
I think
For Worlds, I think a lot of other esports do double elimination. I know that Dota does double elimination at most of their major tournaments.
I think
they do definitely
StarCraft
at
too.
TI.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, double elimination. I think it's a good system, and I wouldn't mind to see it implemented in League of Legends as well. And you're saying specifically, just for the playoff stage.
Just for after groups like knockout.
Yeah, you don't see an issue with the group stage.
No, I think the group stage was good. I mean, it's like, would it be nice if they could just do one big group and then the top, top half go into the knockout stage? But like, I feel like that's just way too many games at that point.
Well, I think having a few more games that are like double elimination or something, you can create a better narrative. Like for the big games on Saturday and Sunday, like you can have games during the week, right? For the playoffs or the bracket stages or whatever, and then like, inevitably on Saturday or Sunday, the last 2 standing in the group or the playoff stage or whatever it is, it's going to be like the big game. And even if people didn't watch it initially, like during the week, they've read that like some team is like barely hanging on, but like they're fighting so hard, and you can like create that narrative so that way more people will watch on that Saturday game.
Yeah, no, it definitely creates a great storyline, because you can have a team that loses the upper bracket in the first round, and then basically runs the lower bracket all the way to the finals. So I think I think you're right. It definitely creates a better storyline, better narrative there for sure.
Also, and this is just kind of like a joke, but I actually do want this to happen. I want it to happen so that way best of 5, just like it used to be for OGN and LCK, best of 5 was just blind pick. Like the 5th game. The 5th game. Like if you get to that 5th game, blind pick. I thought that was the best thing ever. Like that's what gave us the Ryu Faker Zed clip, right? It's because it was blind pick. Like, why not give the players, like, I think it should be like you get 5 bans each team and then blind pick after that. Like, why not let them have like the best chance possible for the final game in a series? But I mean, that's just like, I doubt that's gonna happen.
But I mean, it's
it's
super
a
hyped.
wish.
I doubt it would happen, but it's very, very hyped. You're right. I think that takes away like the strategic aspect of pick and ban, but like,
I mean, you still do get some bans.
Fuck
though.
it, I don't know. Like I don't know. I think that is very, very hyped, and I don't know if I'd like it, but I think it'd be fun to see.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of want to bring it back.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to see is, at least in North America, I want to see these new teams be successful. I think that at least for the spring, I think it's probably safe to say that the endemic orgs in TSM, TL, C9, and CLG will probably be the top 4, if not like the top 5 orgs, just because they've been here, they know what they're doing, they have great players. I think it's probably safe to assume that one of those teams is going to win the spring, but I'd really like to see one of the new franchises, at least make a good run in summer, and look really, really good. I think that would be great for just like the franchising model that has been set up and bringing in all of these new teams. And it would be a great thing to show to EU as they move into a franchising model next year, that these new teams that come in can in fact be successful without having any background in esports at all. So I want to see that, just because I really like that things were franchised, and I want to see those teams be successful. And I just want to see them actually look like they know what they're doing, because we really haven't seen anything from these teams yet. Most of them, in terms of content, all we know is just that they have these players and they're going to be playing on Saturday and Sunday. So I really want to see like actual content come out from these teams.
What would you consider successful?
I guess it's a twofold thing. I mean, you can be successful in terms of we won, and you can also be successful in terms of we built up a big fan base.
Okay.
So obviously not every team is going to win. There's got to be a team in 10th place, and there's got to be a team, that's 7th to 8th, 9th to 10th. But I think that teams that are still low in the standings can still have fan bases. Like last year, I was a huge P1 fan. They were really good in spring, and then they were completely horrible in summer. But I was still a fan, and I still wanted them to win, and I still like watching them play. So, it can definitely happen. You can have teams that have horrible records that still are successful in terms of content and fan base. So that's what I'd really like to see. I'd also like to see the EU LCS get back on its feet. I feel like it's taking a lot of shit and has lower viewer numbers, and things just don't really look very good over there right now. And I really want to see them kind of get back to where they should be, because I think it is looking pretty dire over there for a while, and I want League of Legends to last in EU and the rest of the world for as long as it can, and we need that from Europe for it to be successful. So I hope to see that.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to our next question. So we've seen professional play for 2 days. We've seen 1 day in Korea and 2 days in China. So far, the meta is pretty open. The only thing that I'd say that seems pretty set in stone is the support meta, which maybe I'm paying more attention to that because I play support. The support meta is pretty much Alistar, Braum, Tom Kinch, and then I think Gorilla played Taric. So it's kind of these disengage, slight engage supports. But I mean, we saw a lot of Rise in the mid lane. We saw Azir has made a return in the mid lane. Ambition played Rengar. There was Gangplank, Ezreal. It's pretty open. Where do you guys think that we'll see the meta settle after a couple weeks? Do you think the meta will settle, or do you think we're in a position where the meta is going to be pretty free? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, go ahead again.
I really like that Rise is back, because Rise is just fun to watch. I mean, I don't like it because I hate seeing him in my games, because nobody under Challenger knows how to play Rise well. But I really like seeing him play. Overall, I think you're right. The meta's fairly open for everybody that isn't support. I think jungle also is one of the smaller champ pools, just because most people are trying to run aftershock based junglers or electrocute.
I don't know. I mean, Ambition played Rengar, and then I know there was Kha'Zix was played too.
It's basically between electrocute and aftershock junglers.
Yeah.
And
which those are two very different.
Yeah, it's either hyper aggressive or hyper team oriented. It's not really other strategies, is what I mean. You're not going to see Nunu. I know they've got big buffs on the PvE that might make him valuable, but you're not going to see. I don't even see Kanye coming in.
We saw Ivern.
I did like the Ivern. I really liked it.
Me too.
Man, Kane's been tearing up solo queue.
Yeah,
That's
he
the
has.
thing. It's like at least in my games, he's been tearing up solo queue. So I'm actually really curious to see if he shows up in LCS because he seems really good. He might just not be good enough at that level.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're more influenced by solo queue climbs in North America. So I think we're probably going to see some more solo queue oriented junglers.
I mean, I
this
think
weekend.
Contracts is probably good. Like at Worlds, he brought out. Didn't he bring out Graves and Kane
Yeah.
I think he did play Graves. I remember I
at
don't know if he
Worlds?
played
And like, I know a lot of people are saying Graves isn't great, but like, I don't know. I feel like
He's okay.
no one was saying Graves was great then, and Contracts killed it on Graves then. So like, I feel like Graves might show up with Contracts and maybe Kane too.
Contracts also had the world's secret weapon. He had impact.
Yeah,
You're right.
Contracts actually had a very good world
He had a good
performance, if I can remember.
But that's my take on that.
So I mean, do you guys think that we'll settle into a meta where there's a top 2-3 pick in every role, like we have in the past, or do you think that we'll
no.
see this kind of freer meta?
Yeah, I think it's going to be freer, and here's why. So it's kind of like they were just like people have been talking about how there are going to be bigger changes on all the even patches, right?
Yeah.
So the kind of like, I think we're going to have bigger shake-ups every 4 weeks in the meta. So you're not going to have a top 3 that's just going to dominate the whole season, kind of like we have had in the past. I mean, by the end of the summer splits, it was just Sejuani versus J4 in the jungle. Like, it was it. There was
Yeah.
You might see an Ivern or a Graves, but that was it. And I don't think that's going to happen again. I think the big patches are going to shake things up so much that you won't have that.
Yeah, I think that is actually going to have a lot to do with it. The fact that we're only going to have a big patch every 2 weeks, I think is a really, really good move on Riot's part. Because, I mean, a patch every 2 weeks is actually, like, if you think about it, it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's pretty
But-
fast. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, I think with the way that they're doing it now, it also kind of like gives it a period to settle, right? Like what on the times that they don't have the big patch, so like every other patch being the small patch, like that small patch is going to give the meta time to settle, and so I think like it also gives people more time to innovate, right? Because if they know that the next patch isn't gonna be like a big patch, they have time to figure out, well, what's good or what's different this patch. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you're right. So this one, that's kind of a good segue into the other half of this question that I wanted to talk about is kind of how we've seen Riot balance the game in the past, and if because I'm kind of prompted on this question because last year I played a good bit of Dota, and I watched a lot of professional Dota. And the thing about Dota is like they have this saying that like everything can work. You know, there's not the idea of a meta, or in Dota is not as fluid. It's not as strict. Sorry, I used the completely wrong word. It's not as strict as in League of Legends. So one thing that kind of stuck out to me was, I think it was at the end of Worlds or something, Doublelift gave an interview and he said the patch was solved. He said those words and I was like, that's really interesting. That they think about it as in like the patch was solved. Like they figured out the best possible thing in every single situation. And it's just so different in comparison to other MOBAs like Dota, where it's like everything is balanced. What I would say is like potentially balanced better. It really depends on your opinion, to where you can play almost anything and it's going to be fine.
Well, it's the idea that if everything's OP, nothing is.
Yeah, that's the idea in Dota. Is like if everything is really, really strong, then nothing is OP. And that's really not the way that Riot has historically done their balancing. And I feel like there's been a lot of times, even in recent memory, when the balancing has been just so bad that it's like, if you don't pick this champion at a professional level, you're going to lose, or you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. So do we?
Castle.
Yeah. So do we hope to see? Do we hope that with Riot making these changes to the way that they're balancing the game, that we can potentially reach a point where you can play what you want and you won't be at a severe disadvantage, or you can let something into the game where you won't be, you don't have like a, a higher percentage chance to lose. So do you guys hope to see it move in that direction? Yeah.
I mean, I do hope that it gets to a point where something isn't when you pick something, it's not, or when you don't pick something, it's an insta win for the other team, I guess, or because they pick it. But like, we do have bans in this game, so like if one champion is OP, like yes, it sucks that red side's gonna have to ban that out. But as long as it's just like one or two champions, I mean, I think it's okay. Like, it's not great, but it's okay. And I feel like Riot in the past has done, like, especially recently, has done a pretty good job of making it so that way not all, but a lot of champions are viable in the pro meta. So I think that, like, I don't know, I think we just have to like trust Riot, which is weird for me to say, but we just have to trust Riot, and like, cause they've done well with this game so far. So
yeah.
So
I think recently they've really had a good job of balancing things. I just don't want to go back to, what was it, the patches last year that were like, it was like Rengar, LeBlanc, and who else was OP at that time? Maybe it was Graves. I can't remember. There were three people that were just like unbelievably OP that Red Side had to ban all three of them. And I think it was before 5 bans, where like Red Side essentially didn't have the strategy to ban. And if we get back to that place, I'll be very dissatisfied. But kind of like you were saying, like if there's only one person that's super OP, then like Riot can fix that, and we can kind of deal with it until they fix it.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question, because I think last year we suffered through two very, very important metas in the professional scene, where you basically like let's think about this. In spring of 2017, AD carries were useless. Supports were doing more damage than them. The AD carry was like a utility pick that basically set up the support to do the rest of the damage. That is not a healthy meta, in my opinion. That's not the way that the game should be played. And then at Worlds, we had the Ardent meta, where it was like you had to pick Ardent Sensor or you were going to lose. So within the last year, we've had 2 metas where it's just like been pretty much horrible in terms of balancing. But I also think that there's another side to this argument where people appreciate the fact that every 2 weeks, it used to be every 2 weeks, Riot would change the game and new things were out there to learn. So do you guys agree with that argument for this, is in the sense of they changed the meta, all the champions that were good before are not anymore, we got to figure out what's good again? Do you like that style of looking at the game, or do you think that could negatively affect the game overall? Because it's like a constant search for what is better than something else.
I think it negatively impacts the game, because you spend so long working on a champion or learning something, and then they just say, all right, well, your champion's gone now. Like, it's just irrelevant, so something else is. I would rather get to a point where it's well balanced and they start changing the way that buffs work or something. Like, change something about the game to keep it fresh. A new champion makes everybody else irrelevant. That is also okay, where that's a game changer that got added. I don't want old things to constantly be altering what is and isn't useful. I want new things to alter what is and isn't useful.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, especially if we're looking at the pro scene specifically, having like big changes right before playoffs or right before Worlds, like when that's happened in the past, like it sucked. Because like Riot didn't have time to get the meta in a place where it's relatively balanced, and like you would always have like, you know, a champion like that wasn't really a part of the meta just come in and be like an insta win, right? Like I feel like we eventually do want to get to, like what Ken said, we want to get to a point where like the game is balanced and you change the game by adding stuff to the game and then making small changes from there.
Yeah.
So
Carl, I thought you were going in a different direction, which brought up something else. I thought you were going to say, and maybe you were like kind of saying this simultaneously. Is like a lot of the pro players really don't like it when champions get nerfed and they have to learn new things. And I think that that's purely just bullshit. I think that if you're a pro player, you should be able to play all of the champions at a pretty high level.
Yeah, I mean, but then at the same time, like pros also complain when the meta gets stale, right? Like, so I don't know. I feel like like you said, I think pros just need to suck it up, like learn the new champs or learn who's good. But like, if it's right before playoffs or like right before Worlds or like right before the knockout stage of Worlds, then that doesn't make sense for a big change. Just because like they were on this, you know, you played the whole regular season with like slight changes, but there was a developed meta, and then you change everything for playoffs. Like that I don't know. That just doesn't make too much sense to me.
I think Riot's fixed that though. They're mostly making big changes.
Oh no, you're right. They have mostly fixed it. I'm just saying like going forward, like let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we good here? We want to move on to the next topic?
I think next topic.
Sure.
All right, we're going to do some predictions for this weekend's games. So, the first game of the North American LCS is TSM versus Team Liquid. Who do you guys got?
TSM.
TL.
I think
Brooks, you're the
I'm gonna break the
here.
tie. I think this is a tough one. I think TSM's gonna take this one. I think
My boy.
I don't know. I feel like TL may have some like lingering synergy that they had from way back when. At least you know they have like 3/5 of Immortals, and they have like 3/5 of 2016 CL or 2015 CLG, I guess now.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have some lingering synergy, but I feel like TSM's going to take this one. But I honestly don't. I actually would love to see a best of 3 out of this.
Dude, I want to see a best of 5 out of this. Like just those two teams. Like screw the rest of the games of the day. Like just best of 5 right here.
Oh, you're right. It is a best of 1.
It is best of 1.
I think I changed my answer. I think I go with TSM. I was thinking TSM would win first game, lose games 2 and 3. Because I think Impact is better in a longer sense.
Yeah, I think this one really depends on if Impact shows up, because Impact kind of struggled last year for most of the year.
And then he got to Worlds.
And Hanser was still Hanser, so like, you know, I think it really depends on if Impact shows up or not.
Yeah.
And then also the big question on TSM is going to be Mike Young up against the veteran of veterans in Xmithie, so that's the big question.
The
All
oldest,
right, let's move on to the
oldest jungler in the LCS.
Is he really?
I think so.
He's played for forever. So.
Yeah, wasn't he on like XDG and Vulcan? Like
he was on Vulcan, which was like what 2013 or something. I don't know. Way before I even paid attention or even knew what LCS was. All right, next up we got 100 Thieves versus Optic.
100 Thieves.
Who we calling?
And who? Who are they calling?
I think Optic.
Oh, I'm going with Optic.
I think 100 Thieves is gonna win this one pretty easily.
I'm gonna have to go with 100 Thieves too. Like, I just feel like I think match for match, 100 Thieves is just better.
Yeah,
Like,
I think Optic
Someday versus
could be
Zig.
really good.
Someday obviously wins that. Meteos versus
Hey, don't hate on my boy.
I know. Meteos versus Acadian. Like, I feel like that's a pretty even matchup. Like,
Acadian destroyed.
no, it depends on like I don't know.
man.
Meteos,
It's still
when
Meteos,
Meteos
dude.
was playing on P1, like he killed it.
Yeah, he did. He was very good.
Yes.
Dark Media.
Ryu versus Power of Evil. Like, I feel like that might go towards Power of Evil, but like Power of Evil has like high highs and low lows. Ryu's more of a consistent player in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's an even matchup.
Yeah. And then Cody Sun versus Arrow.
Arrow destroys him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not an even matchup.
But
I love
Arrow's
Cody
landing
Sun,
with
but
Arrow's with elimination.
yeah,
That's
You know,
true. You do have to look at the supports because, bottom lane.
he's against Afromu, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rush Hour Part 2.
So, like, the bottom lanes together, I feel like, might swing towards 100 Thieves because you have Afromu there.
I don't think Lemination's that far behind Afromu in terms of like laning mechanics.
I think elimination is mechanically probably the worst support. I think it's his brain that keeps him going through the game.
But also, like,
I think
when was the last
I
time...
think Afromu is like probably one of the better mechanical supports.
Yeah, but also, like, when was the last time... And I know I said we were just specifically talking about bot lane, but when was the last time you had Lemonation roam to mid and, like, have great jungle support synergy and, like, get a gank off in mid lane, right? Like, but Afromu...
I don't remember any...
That wasn't FlyQuest's deal though. FlyQuest high would roam bot. It was that was their strategy. It wasn't.
I don't remember any time that Elimination was playing and I was just like, oh my god, this guy's going up. It's crazy. I don't remember any time watching Elimination and being like, he's the best. He's amazing. I don't... Not any time in the past year do I...
Definitely not in the last year.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think 100 Thieves takes it just on paper being better.
Yeah.
I think Optic could be a great team later in the season, probably in the summertime, if they keep their full roster or they keep everything the same. Maybe upgrade Elimination.
Upgrade sport.
Maybe upgrade Elimination. I think they could be a great team, just not yet.
Okay.
Next up, we got Clutch versus Golden Guardians. I think Clutch takes it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to give this to Clutch too. I think.
I don't have much faith in Golden Guardians. I like their players. I like the attitude that they have around their team, but I don't foresee them being able to beat Clutch. I mean, Envy was a playoff team, pretty solid playoff team, and they've kept 3/5 of that team, and they've added Febvin.
And then
Untested rookie top laner, but I mean he's going up against Lorlo, who frankly we haven't seen that much good from during the past year. Maybe his first year he looked pretty good, but not recently. So
he had some good games in the summer. He just was on a really bad team, so you didn't notice.
Yeah,
it.
I hope that's what happened with Lorlo and Matt. I hope they were both just on bad teams.
Yeah.
But just on paper, Clutch looks better.
I give it to
all right, next we got Echo Fox and FlyQuest.
Ooh, this is gonna be a rough one to call, a hard one to call.
I think that if it's Adrian and Altec at the end of summer, then Echo Fox takes it. But if it's if it's not that, then it's...
Does Dardaddy show up or like Toxic Jungle show up?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I give it to Echo Fox. I give it to Echo Fox.
I think Echo Fox wins just based off what's on the paper. Like I said, it's hard to say when we're this early in the season.
And we haven't seen them
Echo
play.
Fox.
Yeah.
I give it to Fox.
I really want to go FlyQuest because I love Wild Turtle and I love Flame. But Hoonie also. I have Hoonie on my
Hoonie versus
fantasy.
Flame's gonna be lit.
Yeah.
Great.
I have Hoonie on my. I have Hoonie on my fantasy team. I have to go with Echo Fox winning this.
All right, so that was 3 for Echo Fox.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, last game on Saturday is CLG versus C9. Ooh, this is a tough one too.
No, this is easy. This is gonna be CLG. Like
CLG support?
CLG support. Biofrost.
Biofrost.
Oh yeah, CLG wins.
Yeah. Like.
All right, I agree. Just because I want CLG to win. I just
Like-
like CLG better than I like.
Well, the issue with C9 is licorice. Like they're just like
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I just don't understand.
and like Darshan was popping off at the end of.
Yeah, Darshan was good.
Like,
year.
Darshan's
He
gonna
was
like.
great
last
last
summer.
year. Like, yeah.
All right, that was all 3 for CLG. We're moving into Sunday. We got Optic Gaming versus Team Liquid. I think it's pretty.
This is
pretty
Liquid.
clear
Oh, yeah,
it's
TL.
Liquid.
Yeah,
Easy.
TL wins that one all the way.
To watch
After that,
Optic
we
like
have.
show up. It's like,
Watch,
upset.
watch Lemon Nation just become the best support in the game. Like,
He's throwing 3 hooks while he's playing Thresh. I'm just like,
Yeah.
how does he do it?
he's actually a Doombot. Like,
Yeah.
like 6 Blitzcrank hooks just come out of nowhere.
All right. Next up, we have Wild Turtle against his old team. His like double old team. I don't know. Wild Turtle against TSM. FlyQuest against TSM. FlyQuest basically just Wild Turtle against TSM.
TSM.
Yeah, TSM easy. I am excited to see Sven and Mithy.
Oh, me too.
Like,
I
I hope they do. I am nervous about Mike Young.
What? I'm not. I'm more nervous about Sven and Mithy than about Mike Young.
No,
I mean, I think Mithy gave us. I think Mithy gave us a lot of reasons to question him
At
last
Worlds.
year, just as a player. Like, I think his mind is wonderful. He's probably a great shot caller, but him just like as a support player, I don't know if he can like match up as well, because I feel like we got a lot of good supports in North America, probably a lot more than they have in Europe. So I don't know. I think we'll see, but I think they're gonna smash FlyQuest though.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
So then he can do it by
Next.
himself.
Next is this one's gonna be a juicy one. I'm excited for it. CLG and 100 Thieves.
Oh,
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game.
that's gonna be Afromu. Oh,
Afromu versus his whole team.
that's so strange.
It's Rush Hour 2 versus Shanghai Noon.
I give it to CLG.
I like both of these teams. These are probably my 2 favorite teams, so it's hard for me to say. But I think I'm going to give it to CLG just based off of synergy probably built over the last couple years. So I'll go to CLG.
I want to say CLG, and I think it's going to be CLG, but I'm going to say 100 Thieves. Just because Rainover makes me nervous. Like,
Yeah, that's a big question.
like
I have no idea
him,
how Rainover's
he was on
actually
Liquid
gonna
last season, right? He didn't perform great on Liquid, and I know Liquid wasn't a great team.
I mean, Piglet.
Yeah, because yes, you're right. You're right.
just Piglet.
But like, I'm just worried that Rainover isn't gonna go back to his Immortals or Fnatic form.
Well,
So
Rek'Sai's back in the meta, so he can play one champ. I think Team Liquid was a problem. They were asking him to play way out of his comfort zone, and CLG, especially in spring last year, was clearly exemplifying some of like Rainover's style. At least Xmithy was, and I think that's because Rainover worked with them at 2016 Worlds, so much. So I think it's an easy slot in for him to work with at least the mid and top, which is where he likes to play around, not so much the bot side, which is where TL is asking him to. So I think Rainover is not as much of a problem as he was last year. I think we're going to see maybe not a return to Fnatic and Immortals form, but certainly a much more impactful Rainover.
Yeah, I also think that it could be really good because you're pairing him with who had a fantastic summer split.
Yes.
And Darshan, who was looking much better than recent splits. So like when you look at that, those three, just the top side of CLG's map on paper, I'd say that's could possibly be the best top side of the map that we have in the league. I mean, yeah, you could make the argument for TSM.
Yeah, I was gonna say TSM. Come on now.
And Team Liquid maybe. Team Liquid maybe, but like, I mean, that's still like at least the top three, in my opinion, the best top half of the map. So I'll say CLG wins this one, but I like my boys on 100 Thieves too.
And Echo Fox is an amazing top half of the map if they can work together.
That's true too.
I don't know about Phoenix.
All I can think of in Phoenix is that Azir play in the bot lane against CLG. That quadra kill, 1v4 quadra kill.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Okay.
Next one, we got C9 versus Golden Guardians. This seems pretty quick. C9.
Yeah, C9
slams them.
High versus his old team, right?
Yeah.
High and contracts.
And then last game of this weekend, we have Echo Fox versus Clutch. It could be a close one. I'm excited for this one.
I give it to Fox.
This could be a good game.
I'm gonna give this one to Clutch Gaming.
I think Clutch wins too. I think Clutch wins because they have a little bit more synergy than Echo Fox does. I like the team better, I think, than Echo Fox.
They have Lyra. Like,
yeah, they got
Lyra's just gonna bend Dardoch over.
Who could roll over Dardoch?
Yeah.
So, I think that
obviously solo versus Huni is gonna go towards Huni, but Huni is kind of easy to tilt with your jungler, and
I don't think so. He never really tilted on SKT.
He kind of did. He
No.
kind of did. He would be
All
like
the
caught
games-
out for no reason in the top lane.
The thing
remember
that
that.
I'm really curious about with Echo Fox is how heavily they will play through Huni. Because, I mean, historically, Altec's kind of been that, like, supportive AD carry.
Yeah, he's
in a way.
I would say Altec.
He's kind of been that guy, but he also at the end of summer was kind of like, pulling all the weight on Dignitas. So he's kind of been that supportive guy, but he also was like pulling a lot of weight recently. Phoenix, I think, is a big question. So I mean, if Echo Fox is going to be one of the only teams in the league that really plays through top lane, I'm really curious to see how well that could work. The only other team I think. What?
Actually, I think I'm going to switch to Echo Fox just for the fact that Piglet is a support for Clutch Gaming. Or he's a sub.
Wait,
he's a sub for Clutch Gaming.
Oh, you just don't want Clutch Gaming to win because of Piglet.
Yes.
Piglet.
Yeah, Piglet is. I don't think anyone likes Piglet, frankly. I just don't think anyone likes him. Like.
You saw Piglet cry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm gonna. Yeah, I switched my vote. I'm going Echo Fox.
I think Clutch is gonna win still, and you guys will see when they do. All right, that was all of our immediate NA LCS topics. Do you guys want to discuss Overwatch or no? It's up to you.
I mean, all I can say, I've watched like 3 or 4 hours of Overwatch League, and like, I want to like it so much because I love Overwatch. I love playing Overwatch, but following as a spectator is so hard. Like, that's the only problem I have. Like, the casters are great, the production is great, the games are really hype. Like, the teams have thrown so much into this game, and all of the hype with each game is fantastic. But following the game itself as a spectator, no matter how good the casters are, is just so hard.
Yeah. And you know why I think that is? I have a theory as to why I think this is. I think it's because there's no lull in the action. It's
Right.
just like 120 the whole time. Like, think about it. In other really, really good, really, really easy to watch esports like League of Legends or Dota, like, there are moments when the casters can, like, build up a story, build up a narrative, because there's not something immediately on the screen that they need to be discussing. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes in League of Legends there's 10 minutes before there's a kill, and like, or 10 minutes before there's a team fight. In Overwatch, it's just like constant. It's like there's no lull in the action, so you're kind of stuck there.
Yeah, imagine like 5 or 6 minutes into Earth, and it's a team fight all the time.
Well,
And that's essentially what you get with
also,
Overwatch.
I think an issue with it is like the actual view that you're looking at. You're looking at it from just one player's perspective.
One player.
And so you can't see everything that's going on around you, especially in like a first person shooter game. Like, I don't know, if you have like, and like they're constantly switching views too, and so like right when they switch a view, you're like, I was just looking at this one thing, now I'm seeing this, so now your brain has to like take in all of the information again that's on your screen.
Yeah, and one of my things is you're rarely ever going to see some player's point of view. Like, think about it. Like, it's probably really, really rare that you're going to watch the viewpoint of the guy that's playing support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're probably gonna be on the guy that's playing Tracer, or what are some of the other,
Winston going
Winston,
in.
you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're gonna be in the viewpoint of the guy playing Winston, who's like running in with his ult on. You're not going to be watching Lucio or Zenyatta. Those players.
I don't know,
sit in the
man.
back,
Some Zenyatta
like,
snipes are hype as fuck.
I believe you, and I don't play Overwatch. I know enough about the game to understand what's going on, but it is kind of difficult to watch. I can understand that, but I don't think it is as hard as people are making it out to be. The only times when I'm really, really confused is whenever they do the zoom out view, where they're like looking at the whole map, or looking like a portion of the map when you're not directly looking at one player's camera. So it's like, you can see players moving around, but like there's so many walls and stuff. It's like you only see like 3 players, and you're like, what the hell? Like,
You see like one
team
team shooting at another team, but you don't see the other team they're shooting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, besides that, I think the production is really, really good. I think that they have fantastic casters. I feel like it's just really hard for the casters. Like, I wanted to watch because I loved watching Monty and Doa do League of Legends back in the day. And I think they're some of the smartest people in the esports community. Specifically Monty, I think the dude is just ridiculously intelligent. He's an asshole, but he's really smart. And so I wanted to watch for them, and I did, and they entertained me to a good point, but at the same time, I almost felt like they didn't have enough time to really discuss what they wanted to, because I don't know if the game has reached a strategic level where it is ready to be an esport of that caliber. And I'm sure it has, and I just don't understand because I don't play. But I feel like it's missing some really important components to be successful in the long term, because I one of the big things about it is I feel like they marketed the game as an esport from its very inception.
Yeah.
So it's like it hasn't had the longevity. I don't think it has the longevity and hasn't been around long enough to build up a fan base that is going to play it forever. I mean, think about it. Like, League of Legends was a game for probably at least 2 or 3 years before, and even longer before the LCS really took off. And they were already planning Overwatch League probably before Overwatch was even released. So I feel like that's a little bit of a mistake. I feel like you're jumping a lot of checkpoints that you needed to reach in terms of making a successful esport. They just hopped over a bunch of things. And I'm not saying it's bad to like jump really, really far ahead, but I feel like they did it too quickly. And I feel like it's going to come back to bite them in the ass.
I will say this, though.
I just don't.
I will say this. So we're taking this from the MOBA perspective. Like, we play League, Dota, you know, Overwatch. Even for Carl, it's a tertiary game after like League and Hearthstone. So what I'm driving at is our perspective is skewed towards what we know has been successful. The shooter community thinks that Overwatch League is the greatest thing to ever happen.
Yeah, and I understand that. But, I mean, look at other shooters. Besides Counter-Strike, I mean, Call of Duty is played at a professional level, but the viewer numbers are, like, super low.
Right.
Like it's barely, like, it's not, it doesn't even stand up even close to, like, what I would say would be, like, the big three of League, Overwatch, CSGO, and I guess we can include, wait, did I say? I'm going to say League, Dota, Overwatch, and CSGO would probably be the big esports. CSGO doesn't even compare. Or, Call of Duty doesn't even compare. And I feel like CSGO, yes, it's a first-person shooter, but it's a different kind of first-person shooter. It's not the same.
They sell tickets
I
better,
feel like,
though. So
yeah.
So viewership is down, but MOBAs people watch online. People go. So if Overwatch League is a shooter and catering the shooter community, people are more likely to actually show up to those events. So I think Overwatch League isn't a bad. It's too soon to say that they skipped over everything because I think it's different than what we're used to. But I do think that they moved maybe a little too fast just because it's kind of hard to prove the value to people that they should just like set up a team in an esport that has such low viewership without having live events to prove like, hey, you can also have people come. So like CSGO, people come. You have a CSGO tournament, people show up. You can already prove that. Overwatch tournaments, Season 1, the first month or 3 months or whatever it was, tournaments all over the country were happening, people were showing up, but then at the end of Season 2, literally half the people showed up. And then that's when they said, we're going to have Overwatch League. And I'm just like, I don't know.
That's why I'm questioning the longevity. Because I think you also brought up an interesting point is that for most of these, big esports, it was a grassroots thing. Up until a certain point, whenever the game developer decided like, oh, I actually think that we could probably step in here and make this even better than it was. I mean, League of Legends, like, people joke about how Season 1 was done in Freak's basement, but, like, it basically was. Like, and then, people have been playing professional Dota since, Warcraft 3 days, and, like, a lot of that was, people just, like, showed up at, somebody's house, or, somebody rented out a room in a mall somewhere, and people, played competitively. Same thing for, like, StarCraft. These are things that built up fan bases over time from people who were incredibly dedicated. Dedicated to the point where they would put in their own money just to be able to compete in a tournament that they were putting on themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Overwatch, I don't feel like ever had to really do that. And I think that could potentially be a problem in its longevity. I want to see it be successful because I think it is entertaining enough to watch, and Blizzard has put so much into it. And I want to see it last for a long time, but the thing is, I just don't know if it will. And it's a shame that people have invested so much money into it. But, I don't think maybe I don't get it.
I don't think they've invested that much money. If you think about it, all the teams is like $20 million to get in. It's not that hard with the fan base that exists for Overwatch to come up with a return of $20 million on all of those investments. Like, that just, it's not that hard because actual sports teams are in the billions now.
Yeah.
So with that idea, you can just say like, oh, well, surely they can come up with $20 million in the next year or so. Now, will it, you're talking about longevity, Will they be able to continue to grow? I don't know, but I don't think it's that risky of an investment that you'll get your money back. But will you get a great return? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe I was a bit. I think I was wrong. I think you're right. I think that it's more of a question of if it will last, than if they will make their money back. You're right. And I don't really care if they make their money back. I just think it could potentially be a shame if nothing comes out of it, and so many people are so involved in making it work.
I mean, I want them, the investors, to be able to make their money back, just because, like, if they don't, it might make investors wary of any esport.
Exactly, because I feel like this is the one that was being pushed out probably the heaviest to people that were not already in esports. And I'm not saying that Riot didn't push itself out there with the franchising, but I think that Blizzard like really went hard.
Yeah.
Like maybe too hard.
I mean, to be fair, they did have over 100 applications for just NA franchising.
Yeah, and they probably, yeah, I think that Riot really pushed themselves out there, but they also remained within the esports sphere for half of the teams that they picked.
That's true.
So,
Over half.
I mean, I don't know how many of the teams were endemic to esports
for over half,
Overwatch.
because they got the 4, CLG, C9, TSM,
Optic,
Optic,
and then the rest of them were
Echo Fox.
basketball, right?
Well, technically Echo Fox is basketball, but I think of Echo Fox more of an esport.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So 6 out of 10.
Yeah. So I think that's just the big question: is if Overwatch has the longevity to last as long as professional League of Legends or Dota has.
Yeah.
I think that's the big question. I think we'll see in 3 or 4 years if they're still around. If the viewer numbers are still there to even maintain the league.
I agree. And I don't know if this is just kind of anecdotal and not related to what we were just talking about, but I saw a couple days ago that every team that's won in Overwatch League, the team that has the most Koreans on it is the team that wins. And that just makes me happy for the fact that we have region locking in League. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good observation. Yeah, for sure.
I think also.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think it just depends on how heavily Koreans want to get into a game.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that there are that many Koreans that play CS:GO, and like there are very, very few Koreans that play Dota. But obviously the Koreans dominate League of Legends. They dominate Overwatch. They dominate StarCraft, but they're not necessarily like hugely dominant in StarCraft.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it just
with League though, Korea dominates. Koreans no longer dominate. So like in other regions where there are Koreans, the team with the Koreans doesn't always win.
Yeah.
I mean, North America's a great example. I mean, TSM's been dominating for the past a year and a half, 2 years.
And they don't have
any Koreans.
And they haven't had any Koreans.
Right. In Europe, G2 was winning, but Trick was their only Korean.
There's actually not that many Koreans left in Europe at all.
Right, but Korea.
And the ones that they have are like the most budget Koreans on the market. Like,
yeah, Korea is winning, but Koreans are not. Does that make sense?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
I think,
also a good observation.
I think, but a couple of years ago, League, when LCS and professional League was in its infancy, Koreans were dominating. Didn't matter where you were. Everybody, the team with the Koreans was winning.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not like that. I think Overwatch is on the same trend. I think it's just starting out that they're just a little, past because their culture is more.
And they also had a league.
Yeah.
They also had a league already.
Yeah.
They had Apex League, which was their Overwatch League. That's where London Spitfire, which was I think the team was like GC Busan or something, which was the one that Cloud9 now owns. Their team, they just pulled them right out of Apex League in Korea. So like.
So I'm not thinking about. I'm glad we have region locking. maybe because we have region locking, we were able to get to a point where Koreans didn't make that big of a difference on the team faster than Overwatch League might, but I think it's not that big of a deal. I'm sad that Overwatch is dominated by Koreans, not Korea, because it's more entertaining to watch regions compete within themselves, not importing people. But
Well, I mean, there is only one Overwatch League, though, right? Like, there aren't, NA, EU, LCK, right? Like, there's just one league. So, like, you can't really have region locking in that way. Does that make sense?
Well, there is only one league of
Yeah.
legends.
Alright, I think we just need to end it there.
All right.
I think we're done.
Yeah, with that, I think
With that terrible pun.
We're gonna sign off. Well, thank you guys for watching or listening, whatever you're doing, and we'll be back next week talking about NA LCS. So, thank you and good night.
Good night, y'all.